right, guys, what's up? Back with another training video today. On the menu today, gonna do a prep circuit. I'll take you guys through that. I'm gonna go bench doubles today. After I do a top set of doubles, I'm gonna do some incline dumbbell pressing, some chest supported cable rows, and I'm gonna do some biceps and triceps. I'll show you guys that today too. I did get some questions from Instagram that I'm going to answer today. I'll answer those in between sets once I get my blood flowing here and we start warming up for the bench. All right, I went ahead and went with a plate on these, and I'm going to go back and forth on the plyo push-up, like a side-to-side plyo push-up. All right, got 275 on the bar here. Going to go for a double. That was fairly easy. I might make one more jump. All right, so I failed my second rep at 285, and I didn't have the safeties up. Show you that video now. So good learning lesson here. When you're lifting heavy, especially like squatting or benching, make sure you've got the safeties up, especially, again, if you're going really heavy. I meant to put them up before I started. I hit that 275 for a double and just got a little overconfident. So don't do that. Really dumb move by me. Obviously, that can end up in injuries and can end up a lot worse. Yeah, I'm going to go to the next clip. All right, second set of dumbbell press with the 90s. I got 10 on the first one. See how many I get on this one. All right, that was 9. Yeah, I'm going to go to the next clip. All right, so the first question I got was from one of my trainer friends, Tyler. And it was, what happens if I miss my post-workout anabolic window? And he was joking around when he sent me this, but I'm going to answer it anyway. Most of the myths about anabolic window, like trying to get in your protein shake like immediately after a workout or your meal or whatever it is, most of those myths have been dispelled. I think like what most of the evidence says is that if you're having a protein and carbohydrate rich meal roughly 60 to 90 minutes before training and after training, you're kind of probably checking the box that needs to be checked from a nutritional status standpoint, and giving your body the nutrients it needs to fuel yourself and to recover. But I will say, like, when you ingest carbohydrates post-workout, that insulin spike you get from the carbohydrates does blunt the cortisol response or the stress hormone response that you get from training. Anytime you're training and doing something physically challenging, you are going to get a spike in the hormone cortisol. Totally normal. But maybe for people that are very high stress job, maybe they've got kids, maybe they're super busy, it may be a good idea to have like a protein and carb shake, or like a protein shake and a banana or something like that post-workout. Now, it doesn't have to be like right away, but within 15, 20, 30 minutes probably. That may be something to think about, but again, I think with most of that stuff, we're probably splitting hairs, especially if you're eating sufficient calories or eating the amount of calories that you need for whatever your goals are. Obviously, if you're, yeah, I mean, I could go down a whole rabbit hole here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to try to keep this training session going. But in general, anabolic windows doesn't really exist. 30 to 60 minutes pre-workout and post-workout for a meal is probably good enough for most people. All right, what should I eat before and after workouts? It's another question I got. Kind of just covered that, but again, generally speaking, something probably 60 to 90 minutes before training or before competition, even for that matter, if you're an athlete. Something that's rich in carbohydrate and protein. Again, the reason I'm not saying like vegetables or like fattier cuts of meat is that fiber and dietary fat are going to slow the rate of digestion of the food you're consuming. So if you have something that's, maybe more rich in fiber and more rich in dietary fat, it may sit on your stomach for a little bit longer and it may impact your performance. So again, something that's high in carbs, high in protein, chicken and rice, a burrito that doesn't have like a bunch of sour cream and cheese and like vegetables and stuff like that. So if you did like a burrito with, chicken, rice, I'm not saying you couldn't throw like a little fajita veggie or a little bit of cheese, but like not probably a ton of that stuff. Your tortillas, your bagels, that kind of stuff, protein powder, lean steak, lean ground beef, chicken, turkey, those kinds of things, chicken breasts, turkey breasts, those kinds of things. Things that are leaner cuts of protein. Honestly, for me, like a piece of fruit and a protein shake is kind of my go-to. As a former athlete, it's just easy too. So yeah, there's that. I got asked about contrast training and what my thoughts are on it and how it is best applied. This is something I've changed my mind on a lot here. Honestly, even just over the past like 6 to 8 months. And some of the stuff I'm doing here actually at the gym with the athletes here recently is indicative of my change of thoughts and my change in stance on contrast training. So I've used contrast training a lot in different programs that I've ran from different people. Obviously, I never read the full Triphasic book. I have it. I've read like some stuff in there. Like I've kind of sifted through it probably 3 or 4 years ago. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with really any training. But I definitely have some opinions on it, and I guess some bias. I generally think that, again, and this is my opinion now. If you would have asked me even probably 6 months ago, my opinion was definitely different. I actually did an Instagram video about why I contrasted like my athletes' heavier lifts with their jumps. But I've kind of found a new way of kind of systematizing things here at the gym that I think is going to be more efficient and effective for my athletes. So essentially what I was doing and what I was saying about the contrast training is, the athletes, they play sports, they want to feel athletic, and I kind of thought that, oftentimes pairing a heavy lift with a jump would kind of help the kids or the athletes maybe feel a little bit more athletic from the perspective of, they're going from a heavy compound bracing strategy to more of a elastic, it's kind of that expansion and compression model, so like more of a compressive lift to more of an expansive type of movement. The only problem is the more I've done those things, the more I've done the contrast stuff myself, it is quite fatiguing if you do it consistently, especially if you are already pretty strong and you have a good base of training. I definitely think that for athletes that are maybe a little bit more on the side of, what's up, Dylan? One of my athletes just walked in, but if you are on the side of, you're a little bit more untrained and you're maybe not as strong, it probably doesn't matter that much. But from the perspective of somebody who maybe is more developed and is stronger, it is quite fatiguing. My other big thing on that, and this is, again, like, listen to a lot of Will Rattel stuff. He and I have become kind of, internet buddies. We talk pretty consistently. And from an anecdotal perspective, I can kind of see exactly where he's coming from. I don't think I get the most out of my lifts. I don't think I get the most out of my jumps when they're paired together. And again, like one of the things that I'm doing now at the gym with the athletes, once we do our kind of warm-up period and our either speed work or change of direction work, we're going with a period of time for 10 to 15 minutes of just doing their main plyometric volume before they do their lift. And then, once we're keeping the main thing. So if we're sprinting, we're not pairing it with a bunch of lifts. If we're jumping, we're not pairing it with a bunch of lifts. And again, anecdotally, I've seen that, again, my athletes are kind of liking that more. They feel like they're getting more out of their plyometric work. And I'll say, even just from a coach's eye perspective, I definitely feel like they're getting more out of their plyometrics. They're putting more effort into their plyometrics. They're resting a little bit longer. And again, same goes for their lifts. Once they get to their lift, they're a little bit more focused. They're a little bit more intentional about the lift. And we're kind of keeping the main thing. So again, those are my thoughts. I think I am working with a couple of teams in season at the moment, and we are doing some contrast stuff with their main lift and the jump. But honestly, it's more in the interest of time than anything. So I think maybe if you're really pressed for time, it can be a good thing to to pair those things together. But even then, I feel like you can probably come up with a strategy that'll work more effectively, and you can still be efficient with that period of time. So yeah, I'm definitely leaning a little bit more towards. And the other thing about contrast training, there's not a lot of evidence to support it in the scientific literature. I know there's some stuff out there. Please, nobody, come at me with any of that stuff. But there's definitely more literature on just plyometrics and strength training alone. And again, so if there is compelling evidence out there that refutes what I'm saying, you can please send it my way. I'm always down to change my mind, but. Again, anecdotally too, it's hard for me to justify doing it based on how I feel. So I'm not saying it can't be effective. I've used it before. I will say that especially the first time through something like that, I definitely felt like I saw noticeable benefits. But I think that was just because it was novel and new. It wasn't necessarily because it was a better stimulus than just doing the things, keeping the main thing, and doing the thing by itself. So that's my opinion on contrast. All right, I'm going to do this video like this because the last question I got is regarding what are my favorite games to play in a small space or confined space. So I'll go ahead and kind of show you. This is the turf that I have access to. It's 5 yards across-ish, and then it's 15 yards from end to end, but I mean usable space is probably about 10 yards. What is cool about this is when we're doing linear sprinting and things like that, kids have to put the brakes on, so again you get that deceleration training kind of built in, so I don't have to do a bunch of these. And I think a lot of those are silly anyway, personally, but I don't have to do a lot of these deceleration drills because if you're sprinting really fast at that wall, you got to slow down. So that's a benefit. Anyway, as far as games go, a lot of different racing. Honestly, we've got kind of 2 lanes here. So we do a lot of sprint races with varied starts. We do a lot of 5-10-5 type work. We'll sprint and then sprint around objects and then sprint back. I mean, I do have a spike ball net, but it gets a little bit tight in here. My only issue is if you kind of see I've got weight trees, I've got the bars and stuff there in the middle. I have my 2 racks. They're very close to the turf, so I don't want to get too out of hand with the stuff that we do because I don't want to get sued. I don't want anybody hitting their head and cracking their head open either. I don't want any of my athletes to miss time because they did something stupid in the weight room. Um, but yeah, generally speaking, a lot of different racing type things. I also have the sticks over here. So like I'll do a lot of we'll do like, you know, we'll grab the stick, partner grab a stick, and do different like drops, catches with the sticks as all the sticks fall down and hit me in the back. Um, so we'll do some of that kind of stuff. We'll also play different games sometimes where I'm like waving the stick. I don't really know how to do this with it on this mode, but basically waving the stick, having the kids manipulate their body around the stick. Yeah, I'll try to film more of that kind of content as far as the different games go that we do in here, with kind of a more confined space. But yeah, appreciate you guys watching the video. See you next time.